Hi, everybody. My name's Lily, and I'm the book hero behind Utopia State of Mind. And today I'm going to tell you about all of my reads for February. So I'm just going to pick up this gigantic, heavy stack. Here we go. It's all in frame now. I often struggle getting it all in frame, but here it is. I read a bunch of books and I had a really good month. But first, I want to talk about what I made and how February was in general. So, first of all, tell me what you think about this lip color in the comments below. I don't know how I feel about it. It's more brown than I've ever worn, but it's one of those new NYX ones where it's supposed to leave a stain afterwards, and I really love the stain it leaves afterwards. I just don't know about this. So let me know. I had a pretty productive month in terms of making stuff. I made a ton of earrings. I also put UV resin on these ones. I don't know if you can kind of see, but I made a ton of earrings. I also crocheted a bunch of things. So the first thing is I crocheted this hat using the rest of my scrap yarn too. So it's a little chaotic, I guess. I also finished crocheting these two hoods in the Ukrainian flag colors for my friends. It goes without saying that on this channel we support Ukraine. One is just slightly a tiny bit bigger than the other one, as you can kind of see a little bit, and they're also different patterns, so you can also see. I also finally, like coming in clutch at the end of the month, got the last balls of the white yarn to finish the cardigan. They have been out of stock for months. I'm so excited. So I finally finished the button bands. I need to sew the buttons on, and then I've passed it off to my lovely assistant to seam. My lovely assistant also sewed this channel down for me. I crocheted it, but my assistant sewed it down. And then I also this month actually had more assistants who helped me thread this through. It was really hard. I just wasn't working for these two hoods. So this channel is run on the help of my many assistants and friends and family members. How was February? February was a wreck. I feel like half of February was sick. A lot of February was sick. I didn't have a voice. It just was like a month where I thought the first part was going okay, and then I got sick, and it was just, I know 'tis the season. So many people I know have been getting sick. I know, I don't even think, I feel like half the people I know were sick in February. So, anyway, that was a pretty awful month in terms of that. I also didn't get really much done. This time, being sick, it just kind of took it out of me for a really long time, and recovery was a very long process for that. Now let's go into the statistics for the month of February. There's not that much to update since half of February I was sick, but the statistics this month I was super happy with. So basically, I read 69% of the books had people of color as main characters, and 38% had queer characters as main characters. I'm above my target goal. Very happy about that. So I'm very happy with those statistics. Also in February, I finally finished having to read 5 books at one time. Even saying reading 5 books out loud is just mind-boggling to me. I was having to catch up on a bunch of different projects and tours and commitments and everything like that, and so I'm finally down to 4, which is normally kind of where I operate on. It's still a little bit, I feel like 3 would be the best. I don't know if I'll ever get it down to 3, mostly because the way that it works, if you're new to my channel, I read kind of like one main book that at a time, and I read more of that than the other books. I make an intense planner, an intense scheduler for reading. Then I have 3 other slots for reading. The first one is a romance book. The second one is a book that I'm reading as an upcoming one for a subscription, because I like to try, if I can, to read books before the subscription renewal dates. And then the third one is kind of just one. What is the third one technically? It's like a misc category. So sometimes it's books that I'm reading from my backlist. Actually, that's mostly what it is, but sometimes it's kind of ones that I'm behind on. So it's kind of miscellaneous. So in February, I will stop that which I love for myself. And so let's talk about the 4 books I'm going to chat about. Let me just start off first of all with the one I won't talk too much about because it's a sequel and it's Cursebound. I don't have my Waterstones copy with me yet. It is still making its way to me. I don't want to talk too much about it because it is a sequel. It's also the second book in terms of the trilogy. I wanted to mention it though because I really enjoyed it and it didn't fall into the second book slump that I feel like sometimes second books and trilogies can. There were a ton of different things that happened. I actually loved some of the twists and turns that happened in the second book. So I just wanted to mention it because I'm not going to give necessarily a full review because there's spoilers. I don't want to give a full review as well till I guess the series is over in the sense of book 2. You know, it came out relatively recently and I hesitate to say too much about it. So let me just talk about the other 3 books. The first one that I have actually with me is Before I Let Go. I read the sequel to this first. I don't know what it's called, a sequel to it, but I will put the cover here. I didn't realize that this was a continuation contemporary side characters connected world series, I guess, the Skyland universe, I suppose, till I finished that one. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. So I went on to Goodreads to log my review and I realized that was actually book 2. So if what I said didn't give it away, basically, they're all kind of different characters in this trio of friends, which I really, really love. So I finally went back and I read Before I Let Go. And I loved this one so much. I loved this one more than the second one, mostly because the tropes in this one were just much more my cup of tea. I love a second chance romance. And I also specifically love like a second chance married person romance, as in, you know, I feel like when you're in a relationship with someone for a very, very long time, and you see this a lot in married couples or couples that have been together for a really long time, you kind of lose your sense of individuality and you kind of become someone that you never really expected. And so I love that we chatted about this and explored it in Before I Let Go. I cried multiple times while reading it. I also love that there are recipes at the end, which I read the second one as an arc, so I didn't actually see any recipes, but this one I read as a finished copy, and so I love it. It also ties as well into the book because one of the side characters is a chef, and also they co-own the 2 main characters because of dual perspective. The 2 main characters co-own a restaurant together, so super on topic. But anyway, this one just got me all in my feels. I love characters who have to figure out coming back to each other and what that means. And also, Before I Let Go was so committed as well to exploring who they were at that time and who they are now. There are time perspective changes, I guess. There's also a lot of talk here about grief and therapy and mental health, so I love to see it. The next 2 I want to talk about are YA picks. The first one is The Rose Bargain, which honestly, I did not know what I was expecting, except tons of people recommended it to me. I thought, like, going into it, I guess it was just going to be, you know, a YA romance or a YA historical fiction romance. Maybe that's all that I knew, but it is so fun and so unique. So it's basically historical fiction setting. There's also fantasy, there's magic, and then specifically kind of fairy, but fairy with a capital F. I want to make that distinction because I'm always a little bit wary about big F fae and like little F fairy. I feel like little F fairy is a little bit more whimsical. It's kind of like all cutesy, and big F fae is kind of really intense. And this is big F fae because there are bargains, and the bargains have this kind of cruelty. I feel like with big F fae, you see a lot more of kind of the effects of immortality, what it would be like to truly live forever, and what that would do to change your perspective on kind of what is important in this world, what you value. I feel like the big FA can be kind of awful. They have this idea, specifically in The Rose Bargain, that humans kind of become their playthings. They like to make these awful bargains with them to kind of see the unintended consequences. And so the Rose Bargain have this big FA. There's also competition. There's also rebellion. It's the beginning of a series. Like, it is something that completely swept me away with how much I enjoyed it, how unique it felt, how much kind of it explored sort of love triangles, how much it also explored side characters. I don't feel like this is much of a spoiler, but in The Rose Bargain, we also see various sort of individual chapters from other characters in this, which I thought was an amazing choice. Not only do we get a better feel of kind of the other side characters, specifically the other competitors, we often are able to see the actual consequences of the bargains that are being made that we don't know and what each competitor is kind of playing for. So the stakes are really beautifully executed through these side character perspectives. Stakes for each character, but also stakes for the world. So in general, really, really enjoyed the Rose Bargain. I cannot wait for the sequel. And the last one I want to talk about is Our Infinite Fates. I kind of knew I was going to really love Our Infinite Fates for two reasons. The first reason, I love timey-wimey books. I've mentioned that a lot, but I really love also timelines, soulmates coming together every time. There's something romantic about it, but Our Infinite Fates kind of takes that, adds a comma, and adds a but statement, as in, but in each lifetime they find each other, one person or both people have to unalive each other. So basically, that's the kind of caveat twist to it. And I knew I was going to love that because that is just like catnip to me. But also, what I think was really gorgeous about Our Infinite Fates is not only do we get to see these characters through multiple lenses, we get to see how this kind of love and loss would affect them for one character. And I knew this because I saw Laura Steven talk at an event. And for one character, so for Evelyn, for example, she kind of still decides to love. She makes that brave, courageous choice to love, even though it is gut-wrenching every time. Whereas Arden decides that he has experienced loss so many times that it's just not worth it anymore. And so you're able to see these two different perspectives, which in a lot of ways feels very universal in terms of how we approach love and loss in our own non-infinite lives, I guess. And so I really loved that exploration of the theme. I also didn't feel that the mystery about why this is happening was drawn out too long. I feel like sometimes in books like this, you can have this mystery of kind of like, what happened? What's the reason? And it just draws on for so long to the point in which you're kind of like, I don't even care anymore. That is not the case with Our Infinite Fates. There's a beautiful balance of suspense and tension in the book, and so I really, really loved that one. And so those are my top 3 / bonus 4 picks for February that I really loved. I, as you can tell, also in this stack reread The Hunger Games, so expect that in an upcoming book 2 adaptation. Book / movie, I guess. I was gonna say book / movie video coming soon. Because I mentioned it in January, I will also try to mention that I've been also trying to read more Latine and Indigenous voices and being very accountable, conscious about it in that decision. So for this one, I read, try to like unearth it from my pile because I actually own these two. So I read the sequel to The Last Quintista, which is this one. Really gorgeous, and also can you kind of see that it has this pop-out detail. Publisher sent this to me, and it is just a stunning book. Another stunning book, which is the Indigenous pick that I read for February, is this one, which is gorgeous. There are also illustrations. Basically, all of these dark pages have illustrations. Actually, no, the dark pages are the ones that separate it, but you can see let me find one. Oh. Of course, now that I say this, I can't find them. But they're just various kinds of illustrations throughout this one. And it is a hefty book, but I wanted to mention that just because I know that I'm thinking about this. And I encourage you, by watching this, to also think about the conscious ways that we can try to hold ourselves accountable for the various ways that we want to read more diversely every year. So now that's the end, and I will see you in the next wrap-up video, also the next video in general, but the next wrap-up video. I hope you have a really great rest of your reading day, week, month, and year, and see you later. Bye.